What's that piece of paper you're holding in your hand mean?
Well,
It
it means a lot. The new state record largemouth bass has been broken after 60 years, over 60 years of being in existence. And it means a lot because we've done a lot for trying to get that record broken here in the last 15 years or so.
When did you start with TWRA?
I started in 1979, April of 1979.
How many years did all the fisheries folks at TWRA go along and think that record will never be broken?
A lot of people have said that. It's hard for me to believe that with all the improvements in the technology to fish with side scan sonar and the boats and magazines on telling people how to catch fish and all the lures that have come out with, that it hasn't been broken. I thought it would have been broken in the last 15 years anyway.
But something happened in 2000 that kind of renewed the dream, didn't it?
Yeah. Well, in 2000, we stocked the first fish in Chickamauga Lake, Florida bass. And we did that trying to hopefully produce a bigger fish that anglers could catch. And Chickamauga was an experiment. We did try it with some smaller lakes, agency lakes in West Tennessee, and had some luck there too, but this was our first big test for a big reservoir like Chickamauga.
Now, at that time, back in 2000, I know, of course, I know it was a bona fide fisheries experiment, and the whole 9 yards, but it was also a little bit of a public relations move as well, wasn't it?
Well, the good folks down in Chattanooga were very avid anglers, bass anglers, and they were trying to be proactive, and they wanted to do something, and they actually helped us out with the first stocking of fish. I think we put in 180-something thousand fingerlings the first year, and the Chattanooga Bass Association, Chattanooga Bass Anglers, they contributed $12,000, which paid for 60,000 Florida bass fingerlings. So that helped. They paid for, contributed about a third of the fish that we stocked the first year.
We've seen Chickamauga go, history repeats itself, so to speak. In the 1980s, because of the proliferation of Eurasian milfoil, it became a tremendous bass fishery and bass classics, big bass tournaments. And then in the 90s, there was a crash. All the aquatics disappeared,
right,
and the bass fishery crashed as well.
Right.
But it's all started to come back between the habitat coming back and the Florida Bass Program. Have we peaked yet?
No, we're just starting. We're just beginning. Chickamauga was a great test for us, and we know that with the right conditions, with the good aquatic habitat and good forage fish and productivity of the waters and the good genetics, that some big fish can be grown in some of these waters. So,
I know your cruise shocked up a nearly 17-pound fish in Browns Creek Lake in West Tennessee. Another gentleman's purported to have caught a world record in Pickwick Lake a year or two ago that he released and didn't have certified.
right.
And between what's going on in Chickamauga, what are the odds you're going to be signing another one of those before you leave here?
Yeah, I think there's a real good chance that we may be breaking this record that was just broken in the next couple of years, maybe even this year. I think they're there, not just at Chickamauga Lake, but as you mentioned, Browns Creek Lake, Lake Graham in West Tennessee near Jackson, and one lake called Gibson County Lake, which we stock with mostly pure Floridas. We're seeing some big bass come out of that lake too. It's not quite as old as far as the stocking goes as a fish were in Chickamauga, but it could happen.
We're all guessing right now. You're going to find out, hopefully, the exact age of this fish, but people are guessing anywhere from 8 years old to 14 years old. It's kind of the range somewhere in there. But, regardless of how old it was, do you think a fish like this is getting near the end of its lifespan, or do you think it still had growing room?
Oh, I'm pretty sure it was near the end of its lifespan. The average age is not that much for a largemouth bass. It might grow 6 or 7 years, typically. When you look at a lot of them are caught and die of natural diseases and causes and whatnot. But this fish was probably nearing the end of its life anyway when it was caught. They don't get much bigger. They don't live much longer than that. And when we're also assuming or speculating that it has some Florida bass genes in there, we should know the results of that in a week or two. And pretty sure it's got some Florida bass genes in there from what we're seeing from the tournaments, reportings and catches and things like that. So,
Just a matter how much.
yeah.
And you expect Florida bass expansion to occur in all these other lakes, which you don't need to name, but this year?
Yeah, we're going to try this year to expand our Florida bass stocking this year, 2015.
And your source for all those fingerlings will be?
Well, we've got agreements from a couple of states down south of us, Texas, Louisiana, and Florida have all agreed to try to give us some fry, and we'll grow those out as fingerlings, and then we'll stock them once we get them big enough to stock.
Based on geography, what little bit I know, which is about that much compared to what you know, but I'd say Nickajack's got potential.
Yeah, Nickajack was really one of the first lakes we considered. We considered Chickamauga and Nickajack, but actually it was a toss. It was a coin toss, which one to go with. But the support was there from the Chattanooga bass anglers to try Chickamauga first, and that's why we ended up with Chickamauga going there first. But yes, Nickajack is, in all likelihood, will be a great lake for producing some bigger fish with these Florida bass that we're going to be putting in there, because it's between Chickamauga and Guntersville, and both of those lakes have got some pretty good Florida bass already.
And it's actually a much smaller lake.
A smaller lake.
Which makes kind of your efforts to do concentrated stockings a little easier, doesn't it?
Right, yes.